Hi there, thanks for checking out our repair channel. This is going to be kind of a old testing video and kind of an explanation of this particular unit. This is a Gallagher M2800i. This is one of their I-Series models that they call it. They had a M1200i, a M1800i, and they got two bigger ones in this one. You have an M5800i and an M10 000i, which is a biggest electric fence charger in the world. They're all 120 volt units. Here in the States, they do make the 220, 240 volts overseas. These are really slick units. These hardly ever come in for repair. There's basically one reason that they do, and that's lightning. That's what got this one. Other than that, they are very, very, very reliable units. Here's one of the boards. You can see it's burnt up there and burnt up there, and it burnt up a bunch of stuff up here. And then here's the other boards all burnt up on the thing. So it's just there's a lot more parts to it than just these two boards, but luckily that's all it was. Yeah, these things are a real treat. These are really, really well built. They hardly ever go bad, and that goes for all of the I-Series. You know, if you want a really good quality unit, look at the Gallagher I-Series. There's a lot of things that they can do electronically. There's a lot of accessories you can buy for them. Doesn't require to have all those accessories to use one of these things. The one thing it does come with, and the customer didn't send it with it, it has a digital display unit that plugs into the back of the unit, which plugs in back here, this little deal here. But they did not send that with it. It's not a necessity to send that in unless you want to. It's just a display thing. It tells you how many kilowatts the unit's trying to put out. It tells you your amp draw if you got a bad short on there. You can also turn it on and off from that digital display. If you use the little fence fence monitors, I think they call them, you can section your fence off into zones. So I think you can have up to like 4 or 6 zones, I think it is, something like that. And so if there's a problem in a certain zone, this little display piece will sound off an alarm on the unit, and then the little display thing will show a zone 2 or zone 4 or whatever. That's the one with the problem. What's nice about those little fence monitor things that are out there, it's basically having someone stand out there at that particular spot in the fence with a fence tester, relaying the information from that spot back to the charger all the time. So, like I said, you can have one fence monitor, which I wouldn't. If you're gonna have, unless you're gonna split it in half, that'd be the only reason you might want to have one. But typically, you'd have at least 2 to start with on those fence monitors, so that way if you split it in half, you know which half has got the problem. Now there is also a remote control that you can buy from one of these. They have it. Remote control is a fault finder, voltmeter, and remote control all in one. Some places you buy these at online or maybe local, so they might have a deal going on. You buy the charger, you'll get the fence tester as well for free, or they might bump the price up a little bit on the charger or include it as a kit basically. So you pay a little bit more, but then it's like a bundle price to get a little bit better price when you buy it all together. I think a remote control is about $250, give or take 20 bucks. So and these things retail about $1,000, give or take. The new ones that they have out now are called the MB series, like a I-Series. They're a plug-in or battery-powered unit. And if it's a battery-powered unit for 12 volt, they would probably recommend a big old solar panel with it too. And depending on where you're at in the United States and how much sunlight you get, that varies on what size solar panel you got to use. And there's also a regulator for it. I mean, it's a good sub. But if you're gonna, need something that big, it's going to be printed as a stationary unit out in the middle of a field. But you could get get this one is straight plug-in and be done with it, or get the M1800i and have just as a plug-in unit, basically as a battery backup if you want it to do that. Or you can have it as a 12 volt solar version, standalone unit out in the middle of a field somewhere, and run it straight off a big 12 volt battery with a big old solar panel and regulator on it. And I can't remember, solar panels probably 100 watts or better at least to start with. Maybe a couple couple 100-watt panels tied in parallel together. I don't know. Don't get that question asked that often. The other thing that this thing does that's pretty slick, and all the I-Series models do it, and some of the Gallagher new ones do it too, like their M1100i, or M1100, sorry, and M1500 also do this. It's called adaptive control. And that's probably one reason why these things don't go bad that often, is it basically adapts the output energy to the fence conditions. And I'll try to show that by putting a load on it with the tester. And you'll see as the unit gets dragged down with the load, the voltage will drop, but then it will climb back up to fight through the problem. So if you have one of those digital displays, you can see the same thing at the same time. So if you walk by one day and you got one of those digital display things with this, and it shows 8 kV at 29 amps, not too bad, it's still putting out 8,000 volts. The higher the amp number climbs on one of those, the worse the short is on your fence. And also on those display pieces, you can set parameters and thresholds for alarms. So typically they say to leave it default setting for at least the first season. That way, because you don't want to set your amps too low on the threshold. So if it goes over 20 amps, you don't want the alarm to go off all the time, because it might go off at 20 amps just with regular old fence hooked up to it. But I think it goes up to a couple hundred amps probably. But the higher the amp number climbs, the worse a short you have. So if you walk by one day sitting at 8,000 volts at 25 amps, and then you go by a month later and now it shows 6 kV at 75 amps, you're like, oh wow, I've got a really bad short somewhere. And if you set your alarm to go off at 60 amps, so it doesn't let it go off on the alarm right away. It kind of watches the energizer watches the parameters you got set. So if it's just a temporary problem, like say a tree limb's kind of blowing around and it's leaned up against the post, or against the fence, I mean, for once or two pulses, it won't set the alarm off. But if it sits there too long, it finally sets off the alarm saying, hey, you got a problem, and you need to go fix your problem, basically. But they're pretty slick, and after you fix the problem, the voltage will drop down and spike back up, and then the amperage will fall back down to a lower number as well as soon as you fix your problem. But that's what's nice about those I-Series. You can walk by at a glance and see exactly what's going on. Set your parameters to the different voltage levels that you want for alarms. So if it goes below, say, 4,000 volts and stays there below 4,000 volts, the alarm will go off. If it goes above, say, 50 or 80 amps, wherever you set your parameters at, if it goes above those amperage, and okay, the alarm will go off. So it's just a nice thing to have, because you could be doing things all the time and never realize something's going on, and then all of a sudden, by the time you realize it, it's too late and you got big problems. And the other thing about the adaptive stuff, when it only uses what it needs, it doesn't run full bore all the time, so it allows the units to run a lot more efficiently, not make the parts work so hard, and so that way the parts don't overheat and go bad. So that's what happens with a lot of other brands, like the big Zaribas, like the 6 Joule and 15 Joule, the 100 mile and 200 mile Zariba, Blitz or Red Snapper. Those ones have that kind of problem, because they're running full bore all the time. The transformers get hot and burn out, and they cause a chain reaction in the rest of the unit. Some of the big speed rights have that problem, like the 36 Joule, especially if you don't have enough fence hooked up to it. A lot of that power will get stuck on the inside because it can't get rid of all of it, and it starts to get hot and the boards burn up. So that's what's nice about these Gallaghers. They just run really efficiently. That's why they outlast a lot of other brands on their bigger stuff. They're just a little bit smarter about it and a little more efficient at the design. So what we're going to do is I got a green clamp on my red wire, but this is my hot side, and we're going to just kind of set this here, and I got a load here that I'm going to hook up to it. Get my meter untangled here. So what I'm going to do, power it up, So we're setting about 8 kV, roughly 7.8. Now I'm going to put a 150 ohm load on it. And what this is going to do, the voltage is going to drop down to like 4 or 5 or something like that. And it's going to climb back up to whatever it can max back out to. But that's because it is adapting its output to the load I've got on it. And I'll show you that. So this is my load. I'm going to put it across the fence and ground. See the number fall and went back up. And see it readjusts itself. So that's how, that's how the thing's going to work. It adjusts its output and adapts itself to the fence conditions. So this is a pretty heavy load. I mean, 0 ohms is a dead short, and I got a 150 ohm load. So this is pretty heavy load. So I'm going to put it across there again. See 5.2, 6.6. It's adapting itself up to whatever it feels like it can go up to fight through whatever problem that is. As soon as you pull the load away, it goes back up, goes back down, and then settles back out to what it was before. So yeah, Gallagher's got a good thing going with these things. I mean, all their I-Series are really reliable. Except there's all those accessories that they can use. You don't have to have accessories. They got like a 3D little video on YouTube. If you type in Gallagher I-Series into YouTube, there's a video of a guy on a four-wheeler. He's, the tree falls over and this and that. And it has all these accessories on there. Those are, like I say, accessories. You don't have to have them to use it. You can just use the energizer with that little display piece. People say, oh, well, I don't need that display piece. Like, well, no, you don't need it, but it comes with it. You gotta, when you buy one, you're going to get it anyways. So, but it is nice. And what's not, the other thing real neat about it is that water, that display piece is like waterproof up to like 3 feet of water. So you can mount it outside. The charger should always be stuck indoors. There's no gasket inside these things at all. So you got to put these indoors or build a box for them. Don't just put a little cover over it, because there's there's a crease all the way down around the whole side of the thing, all the way down both sides, top and bottom. So don't just build a little overhanging shelf for it. Build a box for it. These things don't get hot, so you have to worry about them overheating from being inside of a box. It'd be better just to put it inside of a barn. I mean, you spend $1,000 on one of these things, you better take care of it, because they can get, they're expensive to replace. They're not super expensive to repair, but they can be, hundreds of dollars to repair depending on what goes wrong with one. But when you buy something like this, take care of it. Well, this is, let me do one more thing here for you. I want to do a little spark jump on it. I'm going to go across the ground and the fence. This is the ground. Go to the fence. And you can kind of saw that a little bit. The first pulse wasn't near as loud as the second and third pulse, because it was just, wasn't putting out the full joules. It's saying it's 28 stored Joule units, but it might only be putting out 2 joules, whatever, 5 joules maybe, whatever it feels like it needs to put out. But as soon as something drags it down, it's going to ramp its joules up to fight through that fence a lot harder. So watch the first pulse and or first snap versus the second and third snap, and watch how much brighter or louder the second and third snap is versus the first one. So as you can kind of hear, it kind of got a little louder and a little louder as the as long I held it there. But if you've got one of these Gallagher I-Series units you want worked on, we'll be working on all these things. So if you got one, we'll be happy to look at it. We do give free quotes, and we do put 1.5 year warranties on the repairs, and lightning damage is part of the warranty. So until we do another video of how one works, or the features of one, or how to fix one, we'll see you guys later. Make sure to check out our website at fencerfixer.com. Fencer and Fixer is both spelled with an F as in Frank. You can go down to the description tab and there is a link on there you can click on, take you to our website. It talks about what we do. But we work on all brands, all ages of these things, so it doesn't matter what it is. But we will see you guys later on a different video.